the ship that burned the void. The battleship Astronoctus tore through the heavens like a wounded god refusing death. Its colossal hull, scarred by centuries of war, glowed dimly from within as internal fires licked along its armored veins. Around it, space itself seemed aflame, an inferno of molten debris, shattered asteroids, and a star's dying breath curling into violent waves of fire. This was not a battlefield marked on any map. It was a graveyard of civilizations. Captain Aaron Valcour stood alone on the command deck, silhouetted against the blazing panorama beyond the viewport. His reflection wavered in the glass, older than his years, eyes heavy with the weight of impossible decisions. The Astronoctus was the last of its kind, a fortress forged when empires believed themselves eternal. Now it fled the consequences of that arrogance. The alarms had long fallen silent. Power was being rationed, oxygen recycled beyond safe limits, and the crew, what remained of them, waited in disciplined quiet. They knew the truth even if no one spoke it aloud. The star behind them was collapsing, and with it, the enemy they had failed to stop. The Void Dominion had cracked the stellar core, turning the sun into a weapon. Entire systems had already burned. Outside, fragments of planets drifted like embers. Some still glowed, streaked with rivers of fire, slowly cooling as they spun into darkness. The battleship's engines roared, pushing against gravitational waves that clawed at its mass. Each second was a battle between escape and annihilation. Aaron placed a gloved hand on the railing. He remembered when this ship had been a symbol of hope, when children watched its silhouette cross peaceful skies, believing it would always protect them. Now it carried refugees, secrets, and a single remaining chance. Deep within the ship's core lay Project Cinderfall, knowledge capable of either rebuilding the galaxy or ending it forever. A junior officer approached, voice steady despite the chaos. "Captain, the outer hull won't hold much longer. We must jump now." Aaron nodded, eyes never leaving the firestorm ahead. He knew the jump would cost them dearly. Some would not survive the transition, but staying meant extinction for them, and for everything the Astronoctus carried. "Prepare the drive," he said quietly. "We don't run from the fire. We carry it forward." As the battleship angled toward the burning horizon, its engines flared brighter than the dying star itself. In that moment, amid ash and flame, the last Dreadnought of mankind chose defiance over despair, and the fate of the galaxy followed in its wake. Through the maw of fire, the jump drive screamed before it failed. Space twisted around the Astronoctus like a living thing, stretching light into threads and crushing distance into a single, suffocating instant. The hull groaned under forces no engineer had ever intended it to endure. Deck plates buckled, gravity flickered, tossing crew members against bulkheads as alarms howled back to life in frantic red pulses. Captain Aaron Valcour gripped the command chair as the stars vanished, replaced by a tunnel of burning light. This was not a clean jump. The dying star's gravity had infected the drive's calculations, dragging them through unstable void space, a realm navigated only in theory and nightmares. "Structural integrity at 60% and falling," shouted Chief Engineer Mela Kors, her voice cracking through the comms. "We're shedding armor along the aft spine." Aaron closed his eyes for a heartbeat. He could feel the ship suffering, every tremor echoing through his bones. The Astronoctus was more than steel and engines. It was history, memory, and sacrifice bound together by human will. Then came the whispering. At first it was barely audible, like distant wind moving through ruins. Crew members exchanged uneasy glances as the sound grew clearer, forming words that no translator could explain. Voices layered upon voices, ancient and immense, brushing against their thoughts. Void space was never empty. It was watching. "Captain," Mila said, lowering her voice, "the core is reacting. Project Cinderfall, it's resonating with something out there." The lights dimmed as the ship's heart pulsed, a deep orange glow radiating through the corridors. Aaron rose from his chair. This was what the archives had warned of. Cinderfall was not merely data, it was a seed, designed using principles borrowed from forces older than stars, forces that did not appreciate being disturbed. The Astronoctus burst from the tunnel in a violent shockwave. Stars snapped back into existence, cold and distant. Ahead lay an unfamiliar system, dark, silent, untouched. But the relief was short-lived. The ship spun, engines misfiring, hull fractures venting atmosphere into space like ghostly plumes. Damage reports flooded in. Entire decks were gone. Dozens of crew had vanished during the jump. lost to the void between moments. Aaron steadied himself and addressed the bridge. We survived. That means the galaxy isn't finished with us yet. Outside, the burning hell they had fled was gone, but something had followed. Far at the edge of sensors, space bent unnaturally, as if reality itself were wounded. Whatever they had awakened in the fire now knew their path. And it was coming. The fire we choose. Silence settled over the Astronoctus like a held breath. Emergency lights cast long amber shadows across the bridge, illuminating faces marked by exhaustion and grief. The ship drifted within the dark system, a lone survivor amid cold stars that offered neither warmth nor mercy. Here, at the edge of the known and unknown alike, the final decision waited. Captain Aaron Valcor stood before the tactical display, watching the distortion grow. Space itself folded inward at the sensor boundary, rippling like heat above molten ground. It was no fleet, no weapon forged by hands. It was presence, vast, patient, and aware. The thing born in the dying star had followed them, drawn by Project Cinderfall like a moth to an eternal flame. Chief Engineer Maella Kors joined him, her uniform torn and stained with coolant. "We can't outrun it," she said softly. "The drive won't survive another jump. And if that entity reaches us, it will take Cinderfall," Aaron finished. He nodded once. And everything after. Deep in the core chamber, Cinderfall pulsed brighter, responding to the approaching anomaly. The project had been humanity's last gamble. A controlled stellar ignition seed, capable of reigniting dead suns or collapsing living ones. Creation and annihilation balanced on a single equation. In the wrong hands or beyond human control, it would unmake the galaxy piece by piece. Aaron opened a shipwide channel. His voice echoed through fractured corridors and refugee decks alike. "Crew of the Astronoctus, we carried this fire so others might live. That purpose has not changed." Murmurs spread, then quiet resolve. These were people who had lost worlds. Fear no longer ruled them. Maella's eyes glistened. "If we overload the core, merge Cinderfall with the drive, it'll create a star," Aaron said. "Right here. A newborn sun, violent and pure, forged from sacrifice. It would burn away the entity pursuing them, cauterizing the wound in reality it had torn open. But the Astronoctus would not survive the ignition. No escape. No legends to tell the tale." Aaron looked out into the darkness one last time. He thought of the peaceful skies he once protected, of children who might yet grow under stars reborn from this act. Hope, he realized, was not the absence of fire, but the courage to shape it. "Begin final sequence," he ordered. The ship shuddered as power rerouted, systems screaming in protest. Cinderfall blazed white-hot, its energy cascading through the ancient hull. Outside, the distortion surged forward, sensing victory, then faltered as light bloomed where darkness had ruled. The entity recoiled, unraveling in the face of something it could not consume. Chosen sacrifice. Within moments, the void ignited. A star was born. From distant systems, astronomers would one day observe the sudden appearance of a brilliant sun where none had existed before. They would wonder who lit it, and why its energy carried strange harmonic